John Miller straightened his tie as the transport ship docked at Centauri Prime. Through the viewport, he could see the massive space station that served as the headquarters for the Galactic Coalition. The structure was a marvel of engineering, a gleaming wheel of metal and crystal that housed representatives from 27 different species. "First-time jitters, sir?" Susan Brooks asked. She had been his aide for 3 years, but this was their first off-world assignment together. "Just thinking about what we're up against," John replied. "Earth has only been part of the Coalition for 8 months. Most species here have been spacefaring for centuries." Susan nodded. "And the Xorlaxians have made it clear they don't think we belong." The Xorlaxians were a reptilian species known for their technological prowess and aggressive trade policies. They had dominated coalition politics for decades. Their scaled bodies and yellow eyes made them look like walking lizards to human eyes, though saying so was considered a grave insult. As they disembarked, John felt the artificial gravity adjust to his body. A blue-skinned attendant with 4 arms guided them to their quarters. John noticed how other species watched them pass, some with curiosity, others with clear disdain. "The preliminary meeting begins in 3 hours, Susan said, checking her tablet. "The Xorlaxian Trade Minister has requested to speak first." John frowned. No surprise there. Our colony on Proxima B just discovered those mineral deposits. They'll want access. He spent the next 2 hours reviewing files and diplomatic protocols. The Coalition operated on complex rules that favored established members. Earth, as a newcomer, had limited voting rights and minimal protection under trade agreements. When they arrived at the meeting chamber, representatives from a dozen worlds were already seated. The room was designed to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes. Some floated in special tanks, others required higher gravity seats. "Earth's representative may sit in the outer ring," announced a tall Xorlaxian official. His scales glimmered under the lights as he pointed to a small desk far from the central table. John nodded politely and took his assigned seat. Susan stood behind him, her face carefully neutral. The meeting began with formal introductions. When John's turn came, the translation system barely allowed him to finish before moving on. "The Xorlaxian Empire wishes to discuss revised access to developing worlds," said Minister Krastor, his long snout turning toward John, "particularly regarding newly discovered resources in human territories." "Our mining operations on Proxima B are still in early stages," John replied. "As per Coalition guidelines, we need time to establish infrastructure before." "Guidelines are flexible for developing species," interrupted Krastor. "The Coalition requires efficient resource management. Your species lacks the technology to properly extract these minerals." Several other representatives nodded in agreement. John noticed only the Aldebarans, a peaceful insectoid species, seemed concerned by the Xorlaxians' tone. Later, as they returned to their quarters, Susan showed John a message on her tablet. "Admiral White sent this. 3 Xorlaxian scout ships were detected near Neptune yesterday." John took the tablet and studied the encrypted data. "They're testing our defenses while pushing these trade policies." Classic pincer movement. That night, John received an unexpected visitor. Ambassador Cree of the Aldebarans clicked his mandibles nervously as he entered. "I bring information you should have," Cree said softly. His translator rendered his clicks and whistles into English. "The Xorlaxians have violated treaties before. Many times. Many species." He handed John a small data crystal. "Be careful, human. They see your worlds as prizes to be taken, not allies to be respected." After Cree left, John and Susan spent hours reviewing the files. They revealed a pattern of exploitation spanning centuries. The Xorlaxians would use coalition rules to gain access to resources, then gradually take control through a series of calculated moves. "They're planning the same for Earth," Susan whispered. John nodded slowly. "Then we need to change the game. Tomorrow, I'll request access to the historical archives. If we're going to survive in this coalition, we need to understand its true history." He looked out the window at the stars. Earth seemed so far away, yet he had never felt more responsible for its future. The main council chamber was twice as large as the meeting room. Hundreds of delegates filled the tiered seats. John stood at the small podium assigned to Earth, waiting his turn to speak. High Chancellor Zixth, full of Xorlaxians, dominated the central platform. His scales were deep green with gold patterns, marking his high rank. Two assistants flanked him, their tails sweeping the polished floor. The human colonies are rich in resources they cannot properly use, Zixth said. His voice boomed through the translation system. We propose a 90-year management agreement for the good of all coalition members. John stepped forward when permitted to respond. Earth appreciates the Council's interest, but we must decline. Our colonies are developing according to schedule. Laughter rippled through the chamber. A tall, blue-skinned delegate spoke loudly enough for all to hear. The primates think they understand galactic economics. More laughter followed. John kept his face calm, though his knuckles whitened as he gripped the podium. That evening, Ambassador Cree sent a secure message requesting a meeting in the station's garden dome. John found the insectoid diplomat waiting among exotic plants from a dozen worlds. The Xorlaxians have moved warships to the edge of your solar system, Cree said, his antennae twitching nervously. Not just scout ships now. Battle cruisers. How do you know this? John asked. We have suffered their protection before, Cree replied. We watched them closely. John received confirmation an hour later. Admiral Carroll White's message was brief. 3 Xorlaxian battle groups detected near Pluto. They claimed to be on exercises. Susan helped John compile the information. The Xorlaxians have done this before, she said. They create a crisis, then offer protection that turns into control. John nodded. We need allies. Over the next days, John met secretly with representatives from other marginalized species. The Tauri, insect-like beings from a heavy gravity world. The Narratians, who evolved in ocean depths. The Solari, energy beings who rarely spoke in council meetings. Each shared similar stories of Xorlaxian manipulation. The ancient Volarians, who had traveled the stars before most species discovered fire, watched these meetings from afar. They appeared as tall, thin humanoids with silver skin. They never interfered in younger races' politics, but their observers were everywhere. 3 days later, Susan burst into John's quarters. Her face was pale. New Eden Colony has gone silent, she said, handing him her tablet. Proxima B Mining Station 2, and the research outpost on Europa. John studied the reports. Any official explanation? Solar flares, communication errors, technical failures. Susan's voice was bitter. But our security drones captured this before they were destroyed. The tablet showed a brief image of a Xorlaxian attack ship firing on the New Eden settlement. John was silent for a long moment. Then he said, Call Admiral White. Tell her it's time for Protocol Omega. He looked out at the glittering expanse of the council station. Tomorrow, we change the rules. The Grand Assembly began with the usual ceremony. Delegates from all 27 species filled the massive chamber. Light from 3 suns streamed through the crystal dome above. John sat quietly in Earth's assigned seat. Susan stood behind him, her face showing nothing of the night they had spent preparing. High Chancellor Zixth took the central platform, his golden robes catching the light. We gather to discuss matters of trade and security, he began. The Xorlaxian Empire proposes new protection measures for developing worlds. Everyone knew this meant more control over human colonies. John checked his tablet one last time. Admiral White's message read simply, Fleet in position. Proceed. When Zixth finished speaking, John stood and walked not to his assigned speaking spot, but directly to the central podium. Murmurs of surprise spread through the chamber. The human will return to his designated area, ordered Xorlaxian guard. John ignored him. He reached the central platform and activated the main communication system. Honorable representatives of the Galactic Coalition, John said, his voice calm. As Earth's appointed diplomat, I come before you today with a formal declaration. The chamber grew quiet. Even the Valerians leaned forward. Earth hereby declares war against the Sorlaxian Empire for acts of unprovoked aggression, violation of coalition treaties, and attacks on peaceful human settlements. Chaos erupted. Delegates jumped to their feet. Some shouted in their native languages, overwhelming translation systems. Others simply stared in shock. No member had declared war on another in over 4,000 years. High Chancellor Zixtol's laugh cut through the noise. The primates declare war. On us. His yellow eyes narrowed with amusement. Your species has barely left its home system. The Sorlaxian Empire has conquered stars while humans still fought with metal sticks. John touched his tablet. The chamber's central holographic system activated. Evidence 1. Sorlaxian warships attacking New Eden Colony 3 days ago. The image showed clear footage of Sorlaxian ships firing on human buildings. Evidence 2. Systematic violations of coalition treaties regarding 17 member species over 600 years. More images appeared. Documents scrolled past, all carefully organized. This declaration is not against the coalition, John continued as the evidence played. It is specifically against the Sorlaxian Empire for crimes that can no longer be ignored. Zixtol's amusement faded. You have no authority. Article 37 of the Founding Charter permits any member to seek redress for direct attacks, John said. We are exercising that right. Susan stepped forward with copies of the charter, highlighting the relevant section. An elderly Valerian spoke, her silver voice cutting through the tumult. The human is correct. The charter permits this action. The chamber fell silent again. No one had expected the Valerians to speak. Zixtol's scales darkened with rage. Then the humans have chosen extinction, he hissed. John smiled for the first time. I don't think so. The coalition sent 3 diplomatic ships to Earth the next day. They expected to find a primitive world scrambling in panic. What they found shocked them. Earth's orbital space was filled with warships. Not the simple vessels they had reported to the coalition, but advanced battle cruisers with weapon systems the visitors didn't recognize. Welcome to Earth space, Admiral Carol White greeted them from the bridge of her flagship, Freedom. The strong-faced woman with short gray hair showed no sign of fear. Your ships will be escorted to our meeting facility on Luna Base. The coalition diplomats exchanged worried glances. This was not the frightened response they expected. On Luna Base, they met with President Laura Davis in a large command center built into the moon's surface. Screens showed military activity throughout the solar system. We hoped to avoid this, President Davis said simply. But the Sorlaxians left us no choice. Your technology, one diplomat began. It's far more advanced than what you disclose. Admiral White nodded. We disclose what we chose to disclose. Earth has learned from history that showing all your capabilities is unwise when meeting new civilizations. The diplomats watched as Lieutenant Ryan Patel's team captured a Sorlaxian stealth vessel near Mars. The special operations soldiers moved with precision, disabling the ship without destroying it. That's the 6th spy ship we've caught this month, Ryan reported through the video link. This one has detailed scans of our defense grid. President Davis turned to the diplomats. Tell your council that Earth has prepared for this possibility since we first detected alien signals 50 years ago. We were peaceful, not naive. On distant human colonies, shield systems activated, revealing defense installations hidden beneath civilian structures. Military vessels emerged from underground hangars. Coalition scientists secretly examined human technology and were puzzled. It wasn't more advanced than Sorlaxian tech in many ways, but it was different, unpredictable. Human weapons used principles some coalition engineers had never considered. They think differently, one scientist reported to the council. Their military evolution occurred in isolation from galactic standards. Their weapons are designed to counter defenses that don't expect them. Back on Centauri Prime, John met with the Council's emergency session. Most members expected him to back down when faced with Sorlaxian might. "Earth stands ready," John said simply. "We would prefer peace, but we have prepared for war for generations. The Sorlaxian Empire believed us weak because we are young. That was a mistake." Susan passed out data packets showing Earth's military readiness. Several council members looked increasingly concerned. High Chancellor Zixthul scoffed. "Impressive posturing for primitives. Our battle fleets are already moving toward Earth. One demonstration of our power, and your species will beg for mercy." John's smile was calm but cold. "Chancellor, I don't think you understand. We aren't declaring war because we're brave. We're declaring war because we've run the numbers. And we're going to win." The council chamber fell silent when Ambassador Kree of the Aldebarans stepped to the central podium the next day. "The Aldebaran hives stand with Earth," he announced, his mandibles clicking. "We recognize their grievances against the Sorlaxian Empire as valid." Before the shock could fade, the Neridian delegate rose from her water tank. "The depths of Nereid also stand with Earth. For too long, we have suffered Sorlaxian intrusion into our waters." One by one, 7 species declared support for Earth. Each had previously been quiet, marginalized members of the coalition. High Chancellor Zixthul's scales darkened with rage. "This is treachery." John stepped forward. "Not treachery. Strategy. While the Sorlaxians were watching our ships, Earth diplomats were meeting with worlds your empire has bullied for centuries." Susan displayed a new star map showing military movements throughout the galaxy. Human ships were joining with Aldebaran, Neridian, and other allied forces. "We built a shadow coalition," John explained. "Species tired of living under Sorlaxian threat." The Sorlaxian Empire launched its first attack the next day. A battle fleet jumped into orbit around New Eden Colony, expecting easy victory. They found the human colony protected by Aldebaran shield technology. Commander Frank Woods led the defense from his ship, Defiance. "Let them get close." Frank ordered his crew. "Wait for my signal." The Sorlaxian ships moved into attack formation. Their admiral sent a message demanding surrender. Frank smiled. Now, human ships appeared from behind moons and asteroid fields. They didn't move like normal ships. They darted and spun in patterns that Sorlaxian targeting systems couldn't predict. "They're using gravity slingshotting," a Sorlaxian officer reported in confusion. "No species fights like this." Earth ships fired weapons that bypassed standard shields. The Sorlaxian fleet retreated after losing 12 vessels. Similar battles played out across 3 star systems. The Sorlaxian Empire expected to crush humans quickly. Instead, they faced unexpected tactics and weapons. The elder Valerians, who had watched galactic politics for millennia without interfering, sent observers to human battles. The silver-skinned ancients study human warfare with growing interest. "They fight unlike any species we have seen," one Valerian reported to the council. "They do not follow standard doctrine." Susan coordinated intelligence operations from Centauri Prime. Her network of allies provided information on Sorlaxian fleet movements. Each time the Sorlaxians attacked, human forces were ready. "How are they anticipating our strikes?" demanded Zixthul. No one could answer him. In a private meeting, John spoke with representatives from 15 species. "This war isn't just about Earth," he told them. "It's about creating a coalition where all members are truly equal." The delegates nodded in agreement. For the first time in centuries, they saw hope for change. 3 weeks into the war, the Sorlaxian Empire gathered its main battle fleet. 500 warships jumped into Earth's solar system. They surrounded the blue planet in a display of overwhelming force. High Chancellor Zixthul sent a message to all coalition worlds. "Watch as we end this human rebellion. Let all species witness the price of defiance." The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Most members expected to witness Earth's surrender or destruction. The human military had fought well, but no one believed they could face the Empire's main fleet. John Miller walked calmly to the central podium. Susan Brooks stood beside him with a small control pad. The Horlaxian Empire has one final chance to withdraw and negotiate, John announced. His voice was steady, showing no fear. Zixthal's laughter filled the chamber through the communication link. You are surrounded. Your planet is at our mercy. Yet you speak of negotiation. We prefer peace, John replied. War was your choice, not ours. The High Chancellor's yellow eyes narrowed. Your primitive species will serve as an example to all who defy the Empire. Our fleet commanders await my order to fire. John nodded to Susan. She pressed a button on her control pad. Operation Lazarus is now active, John announced. On view screens throughout the chamber, thousands of small objects suddenly appeared around Earth. They had been invisible until now, hidden by technology no one in the Coalition had seen before. More objects appeared near key Horlaxian worlds. The stealth satellites had been placed in orbit months before the war began. What is this? Demanded Zixthal. Insurance, John answered. Each satellite contains enough firepower to destroy a city. They're targeted at military installations across your empire. Silence fell over the council chamber. You're bluffing, Zixthal hissed. John shook his head. Admiral White, please demonstrate. On the screens, Admiral Carol White's flagship Liberty moved toward the Horlaxian fleet. A single satellite near a Horlaxian outpost activated. The resulting explosion destroyed a military base while leaving civilian areas untouched. Precise targeting, John explained. We don't want civilian casualties, just the end of your military power. The Council watched as human fleets emerged from hiding places throughout the solar system. Allied ships from 7 species jumped in to join them. You planned this from the beginning, Zixthal realized, his voice hollow. John nodded. Earth studied the Horlaxian Empire for years. We knew you would never accept us as equals, so we prepared for the day you would try to conquer us. Admiral White's voice came through the communication system. Your fleet is surrounded, Chancellor. Your homeworld is vulnerable. Will you withdraw, or shall we continue? The council chamber remained silent as all waited for Zixthal's response. After a long moment, the High Chancellor spoke one word. How? John smiled. Humans have a long history of fighting against superior forces. We've had a lot of practice. 7 days after Earth revealed Operation Lazarus, the Horlaxian Empire surrendered. Their mighty fleet returned to their home systems under human escort. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Empire had been defeated. The Galactic Council gathered for what many called the most important session in its history. Representatives from all 27 species attended. Even the ancient Valerians sent their full delegation. John Miller stood at the central podium. No one questioned his right to stand there now. The war is over, John announced. Now we must build a lasting peace. Many expected harsh terms against the Horlaxians. Earth had the power to cripple their empire. Instead, John unveiled a document called the Terra Accords. Earth does not seek to punish the Horlaxian people, John explained. We seek to reform the coalition itself. The Terra Accords created a new structure for the Galactic Coalition. All species would have equal voting rights. Military forces would be limited. Resource-rich worlds would maintain control of their own development. High Chancellor Zixthal, his once proud posture now bent with defeat, addressed the council. The humans could have destroyed us. Instead, they offer us a place at the table as equals. Perhaps we have misjudged them. Admiral Carol White and Commander Frank Woods established a multi-species defense force. Ships from 12 worlds joined the new fleet. No single species should dominate, Admiral White told the council. The stars belong to all of us. Susan Brooks coordinated the diplomatic efforts, meeting with representatives from every world. Her patient work built bridges between species that had mistrusted each other for centuries. The eldest Valerian, a silver-skinned being who had lived for over 900 years, approached John after the signing ceremony. "In our long history," she said, her voice like chimes in the wind, "we have seen many species rise to power. Most use that power to dominate. You humans chose a different path." John smiled. Earth has had enough war in its history to know that true victory comes from making peace, not extended conquest. 1 month later, representatives from 32 worlds gathered on Earth. The Blue Planet hosted the first meeting of the reformed Galactic Coalition. Species that had never joined before now sought membership in the new alliance. John stood with Susan on a balcony overlooking the gathering. "When you declared war that day," Susan said, "did you know it would end like this?" John watched as humans mingled with beings from across the galaxy. "I hoped it would. Our scientists said we had a 60% chance of military victory, but that wasn't the goal. We wanted to change the system, not just win a war." Susan nodded. "And now Earth leads the coalition." "We don't lead it," John corrected gently. "We helped rebuild it. The difference matters." Below them, the delegates began signing the final version of the Terra Accords, establishing a more just and equal community among the stars.